Okay, so I've seen that the mask that many people wear in the dating scene today is pretense. That's one thing that has occurred. What is one mask you think people wear when dating? And pretense is the answer that I have gotten twice. Udamaka, would you want to respond to that? Miracle, would you want to give us a perspective? Chetachuku, what about you? I'm here to learn about the do's and don'ts of relationship. Fantastic. So what is that one thing you think people, that mask you think people take into the dating scene? What masks are people wearing? Two persons have told us people are pretending. What is it for you, Chitachuku? What is it for you, Miracle? What is it for you, Cindy? What is it for you, McDonald Cookie? What is it for you, Good Luck? What is it for you, Damaka? Oh, Cindy says deceit. Okay. And so one of the things I want to say to you tonight is that we're here tonight to take off those masks. It's enough of wearing the masks that have taken us nowhere, the masks that have gotten us into trouble repeatedly. And so I would want you to think about this question. Don't give me a response. He says, I think liars are not being able to reveal about their past. Fantastic. Thank you for that response. I just want you to think about this question. Don't respond in the chat room. And my question will be, if I had known this earlier about myself, I wouldn't have filled the gaps. What is that one thing that you think that if you had gotten to know about yourself, you wouldn't have done certain things? You wouldn't have walked into a particular place. What is that one thing? Are you able to tell me what that one thing is? Because it's important as we get into the discussion for today. And so I want to applaud you all for taking yourselves seriously and for investing in yourself and knowing that you are important enough to choose yourself first. So today, we will walk through these things, the lies, the deceits, the pretense, and all of that. And I hope that at the end of today, you'll be glad that you were in this webinar. Thank you for choosing you. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and trusting that you will find this engagement one of the best things that has happened in a very long while. So we called it the Mr. or Mrs. Right. How smart singles choose the right one. So another question will be, are you a smart single? What does a smart single mean? What does it mean to be smart and single? Tonight, you will find out what it means to be a smart single. You will find out what it is to choose yourself and to be ready. What do we do at the Start Your Marriage Right Academy? One of the things we have proposed in our hearts to do, as we see many hearts bleed and wail and weep, is the lack of preparedness for the institution of marriage. And so we have a passion and an assignment to ensure that we teach singles to be confident and expressive and know what they want in a potential partner. Detect the warning signs. And there was somebody who says, I'm here to find out how to identify the red flags. To detect the warning signs of a toxic relationship early and do what? Attract not just the right person that will give you joy and peace, but that you also will be the right person. So while you are thinking about what I wish I knew this about me, I wouldn't have. The other question I want you to think about is, if you were to marry yourself, do you think that you will choose you? Don't give me an answer. It's something to reflect upon. Are you sure that you are the right kind of person that anybody should do life with? If you were to marry yourself, if you were to choose yourself for a relationship, would you be able to choose you? And so as you ponder on that question, we will go into the 3 things you are guaranteed to learn tonight. One is the 3 shocking things and truths about finding the right one that many singles miss. The other one will be the 5 unconscious reasons why singles fall for the wrong relationships without knowing, and how you can avoid making that costly mistake of falling for the wrong person and ending up in a miserable relationship. The one thing I can attest to tonight is that anybody who has signed up here tonight does not want to end in a miserable relationship. And so, for that reason, I am rooting for you and thanking you again for choosing yourself. How can you choose somebody without loving the person? And so, somebody would say, God forbid is not my portion. Can I also say to you that God forbid is not a strategy? God forbid is not a plan. And this is a story I'm going to read to you. Good morning, Ma. Sorry I'm disturbing you this early morning. I couldn't sleep last night. I broke up with my boyfriend last month. This is my 5th relationship in 3 years. Everybody is saying I should move on. Move on to where? Move on to what? I'm scared to get into another relationship. Why do I keep attracting men who use me and dump me? Help me, Ma. I am miserable. Am I cursed? You know, there is a popular saying that ignorance of the law is not an excuse. And ignorance, honestly, is not bliss. The good book will say, my people perish for lack of knowledge. How many people have walked down a path, chosen a relationship just because they did not know? But you are in the right place where you can get the right kind of knowledge, and you will not fall into bad relationships ever again if you pay attention to this. So what are the 3 shocking truths about that we're going to find out about right one that many singles miss? What are those 3 shocking truths? The biggest obstacle to finding the right one is not about the other person. It is ignorance of self that is your biggest obstacle. Unfortunately, most self-ignorance is unconscious. And I will dwell here a bit. 3/4 of the time, people do not know who they are, where they are going to, what they want to do with themselves. And when you can't answer these questions, how then can you make a right choice of who to come with you on that journey? And I want you to stay there. Sitting right before you is a woman who is the first of 5 girls. And because of the things that I had been exposed to, I was quite confident about myself, had a voice of my own, had a perspective and an opinion. And while I had a retinue of suitors, there were suitors who would lick the very ground that I walked on, but they were not going to let me breathe. They were going to choke me with love, and that was not the kind of life that I wanted for a relationship. I wanted somebody who will find my confidence not intimidating, who would love me and yet still allow me be. and will be confident in his place and space. And because I knew that about myself, it was easy to do the elimination about who I was going to do that journey with. Another thing that was a concern for me was that there was a constant scenario of where people wanted to just call the shots. And I'm not the regular person that you're going to say, sit down and I sit, stand up and I stand. I'm almost always going to ask you, why am I standing? Why am I sitting? And that is not an affront. That is not confrontation. That is just me asking for clarity and understanding, because once I gain it, I gain speed. And if you were asking me to jump, I probably will jump through the roof if I understood why. How many of you listening to me tonight know yourselves well enough to be able to say, this is who I am, so that you don't become your own obstacle? That is the first biggest obstacle. The other one is that you will still pay the consequences of making the wrong choice in relationship or marriage, even if you were innocently ignorant. So again, people, ignorance is not bliss. This is the time to know all you can possibly know, how you can possibly get it, develop yourself, and be able to walk into a relationship knowing what you're looking for. The third one is most people in the dating world, including you listening to me, may be wearing a mask. And in order to be able to attract the right kind of person, are you willing? Are you ready to remove that mask? What is it about you that you've not been able to embrace, that you are ashamed of, that you cannot let somebody into? That may be your undoing. So I recall that when I got into a serious relationship and it looked like the relationship was heading towards marriage, and actually it's with my husband today, I had had a situation where I had had a lump removed at my breast when I was 14. And between the ages of 18 and 22, there appeared to be a query for breast cancer. Somebody may want to hide that part of them because you think that when you mention it, the person may not come on the journey with you. And so one of those days in the course of our dating, I said to him, this is my journey. This is my story. You want to go and think about whether you can do life with such a woman? And he said to me that I was a silly girl. But here we are, 26 years after, doing life together. What are you hiding? What mask are you hiding behind? What is it that is unresolved? What are you ashamed of that you are unable to bring to the fore? I'm showing you that this journey of relationship requires a level of openness that will attract only the people that should come on that journey with you. So what are the 5 unconscious reasons why singles fall for the wrong relationships without knowing? And keep holding your thoughts. If you were to marry you, would you choose you? When you want to uncover your unhappiness or to cover your unhappiness and life dissatisfaction with a relationship, if you are not happy, a relationship will amplify the unhappiness. It wouldn't bring it about. Because if you are dissatisfied with your life, if you are dissatisfied with the kind of progress you're making, and then you are doing life with somebody who is making progress, you'll find yourself unhappy that the person you want to do life with is making progress. You become envious. You can't celebrate with the person. That person will not stick on with you for much longer because they don't want to be pulled down into your sadness. So who are you? What is it that you are hiding? The second thing is when you are ignorant of the role your upbringing plays in your relationship. What role are you ignorant of that is in your relationship? I thought I'm recording. Please, Rayo, can you confirm that I'm recording? I thought I was recording. Just a minute, people.
Yes, 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 yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
recording, right?
Everything is being recorded. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So, are you aware of what your upbringing has done to you and how you are showing up based on that upbringing? You know, I once had to deal with a couple. One was coming from a home where, if you trace their ancestry, there isn't polygamy in their home. And the other partner had polygamy, came from a polygamous home. The dynamics of that operation is going to affect the way they relate. Do you know how your upbringing is affecting who you are and how you show up in your relationships? This is supposed to help you self-reflect and understand what may have been sabotaging your choices. Are you carrying unhealed emotional wounds around and sabotaging yourself? A young lady was raped and didn't go through a healing therapy to be able to address that wound, and got into marriage, and being able to have intimacy with her husband became a tug of war, because every time the man made an approach, there was a trigger that reminded her of that experience. There was another one where the person who raped this lady had a foul, a funny, strong masculine odor. And every time she came into a room and had that kind of fragrance, she puked and couldn't relate it to the experience until she submitted herself for a healing journey. And as we began to mark out what was going wrong, we found where the trigger was. Do you know what makes you behave the way you behave? I'll share a personal story. Like I said before, I grew up in an all-girls home. And growing up in that all-girls home, we had people who would say to my father, get another wife so you can have a son. So already the communication was that a woman was supposed to be seen and not heard. Do you imagine what that did to my psyche? Now, my father wasn't one who put his daughters down in any way. If for anything, if you wanted to see my father in his element, try one of his daughters or try his wife. You will see a wounded lion. He protected us with everything that he had. But for me, that trauma of treating us or people looking at us that we were any less or that we couldn't amount to anything just because we were girls, locked somewhere behind. And so every time a man stepped up and spoke in ways that were condescending, there was a trigger. I answered you fire for fire. Do you know what's triggering you? And then one day, as I sat and I began to ask myself, why? Why does this trigger you? I was ready to demonstrate to any man at all who had no regard for a woman that they didn't have the place or right to be able to do that. But as I sat with myself and dug into the whys, and began to seek healing, my responses in that place became a response of empathy to the men who treated women with levity. No longer with the aggressiveness that I will come out with, but I found that I could groom myself to be assertive about what I believed in and what path I was going to work in. And I was so sure that no one was going to intimidate me. Do you know what wounds have placed marks on you that you are carrying into the space? Are you ignoring your mental health challenges and poor emotional intelligence skills? I say to everybody, if you come to the place of self-awareness, one of the things that will happen is that you will know yourself well enough to choose for yourself how you give yourself in every situation. So when you don't know yourself, you don't know the wounds, you don't know your state of mind, you can't respond well, you can't be emotionally intelligent. But if you know yourself, you already know when you are getting triggered. You know whether you want to take on a conversation with somebody or walk away from that place. Because if you respond from that point, you may be responding from an unwholesome place. Do you know you? That is the question I will keep having reverberate in your heart today. Do you know you? And then when you are unconscious that you are suffering from identity crisis and unsure of who you are, you definitely will make a mistake. I am here raising three amazing young men. And there is one of my sons who I had a concern about. He wanted to be everything to everybody and in the process would lose himself because he just never wanted to upset anybody. But you see, this journey of self-discovery has brought that young man to the point where he's saying, this is what I want, this is why I want it, this is where I'm going to, and I can't be happier. Because when you know yourself, you define the boundaries. You determine for people how they will treat you and what is allowable in your space. Do you again know you? So, how are we going to avoid making these costly mistakes of falling for the wrong person and ending up in a miserable relationship? The solution is to become more self-aware, more self-confident, and more self-expressive. And one of the things I had written down tonight, I was saying how smart singles make their choice. And I asked the question, are you a smart single? Smart singles do not just find the right one, they become the right one. And what does it mean to be a smart single? To be a smart single, let's take the acronym SMART. You've got to be self-aware because self-awareness will help you define who you are, what you can take, what your deal breakers are, what is allowable in your space, and what is not. And so, if you are not self aware, it will be like putting on a pair of glasses that is foggy. Or if you have ever driven in the rain and your AC is not working, or in any vehicle and the AC is not working, you see the fog that comes there. You can't see clearly until you have cleared yourself. So to clear that fog, you've got to be self-aware. The next thing will be, are you mature? And maturity is not a function of your age. Maturity is a function of where you are emotionally. Remember, I said, if you know yourself well enough, you will choose for yourself how you give yourself in every situation. So it's not about age. It's about if you've come to terms with knowing what your triggers are, what happened, what wounded you, and if you have sought healing in that place so that you don't go and bleed on the person who didn't cut you. How many times have people carried the mess from other relationships into a new one and not giving that person a chance because you are judging them via a wounded lens? And today I ask the question, what masks do you think that people are coming into the dating scene with? And we saw people are liars, people are pretending, people are deceitful. And so the A in smart will speak to authenticity. How authentic are you? Are you real? Or are you putting up a show all the time? 2 days ago, we had a speaking engagement, and my husband and I were speaking. And my husband said, oh, when he came, he didn't have much money. I said, it's not even that he didn't have much money. He didn't have money at all. And the moderator of that event immediately turned to me and said, if he didn't have money at all, why did you choose him? And I said, he was one man who was not careful about making impressions. He had no impressions to make at all. If he had money, he had. If he was hungry, he told you. If he didn't have, he didn't have. He didn't behave like all those guys who wanted to give you everything, yet shishi, they did not have. They'll go back and be struggling. I like the purity and the innocence with which he came into the dating scene. The truth about himself and his journey, and the fact that he was ready to be able to get his hands dirty, dirty legitimately, to put food on his table, to get himself through life. I would rather deal with that kind of person and deal with somebody who is giving me impressions about themselves. And when I come in, everything will be a lie. So I ask you again, if you were to choose you, would you choose you? Are you wearing a mask? Or are you coming to the dating scene as an authentic person? The R in SMART will be, are you ready? How ready are you? How ready are you emotionally? How ready are you mentally? How ready are you psychologically? How ready are you in every sphere? Are you coming into the dating scene desperate? Or do you know that you are worth anybody looking out for you and coming into a relationship with you, whether you're a male or a female? And then the T in SMART will be, are you transformed? And you see, so when we say to you, na dem go they rush you, it's not just a slogan. It is the transformation. It is one that brings you to a place of wholeness, the one that brings you to the place where you accept yourself with your scars, with your strengths, with your scandals, unashamedly, and you come into the dating scene saying, this is who I am. Are you ready to do life with this kind of person? And as I talk about that, it is a state that brings you to the place where you stop chasing after and you know that you are worth being sought after. You come into that dating scene whole. I remember telling the story. I don't know how many of you ever watched the film The King and I, but it had made an impression on me from when I was a young girl. Or if you had even watched the film The Sound of Music. But let me stay with The King and I. The king was married to many wives and ran a country. Excuse me. And in that place, there was this English teacher who had come in to teach them how to read and write. And every time, nobody's head could be higher than the king's head. And as he sat in that place, the lady saw beyond the man who looked like he was brash and uncouth. And the man was not ashamed to show himself. She saw at his core a man with a very tender heart. And so I remember that one of the times in their engagements, she sang the song. And as I sing the song, I need you to listen and pick the words. He says, getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to hope you like me. Haven't you noticed that suddenly I'm bright and breezy because of all the beautiful and new things I'm learning about you day by day. Are you willing to know all about you and to like you and hope that you like them? Are you ready to say, this is my scar, these are my scandals, and they're loving it and enjoying it and being ready to do life with you? Because the person you know today will not be the same person tomorrow. Like I said to you, this year will be 26 years in marriage, and yet I'm still discovering myself and discovering my husband. But are you willing to bring somebody into that space unashamedly as you do life's journey together? Because it is a journey. And so this Nadem Go Dey Rush You program, what is it about? It's a life-changing 7 weeks program that helps young adults become more self-aware, more self-confident, more self-expressive, and prepares them to find true love. Only someone who is self aware can look you straight in the face and say, no, you're not the one for me on this journey. Do you want to be handheld and shown what to do and how to do it? And what will you get from that? You will get to evaluate your life satisfaction, your relationship readiness, and your mental health. You will check for unhealthy family patterns and negative mindsets and then begin to replace them. Do you realize that your first introduction to love is your family, rightly or wrongly? Because whatever you saw modeled in your home becomes literally a blueprint through which you begin to assess relationship and life itself. And so the question will be, what did you see modeled to you? What were you taught about love in your place of birth? And then we want to check if there are childhood trauma that you've not healed from, the wounds, and so that you can get healing as you embrace yourself on that journey. Now, the other thing becomes, do you know how to identify your superpowers? And the superpowers are things that become your leverage point, the things that help you hold on the journey. One of them will be, what is your connection to a supreme being, whoever or whatever a supreme being means to you? Do you have a relationship with that supreme being? And how does that supreme being guide and guard your path and your choices? The next one will be, what are your superpowers? Do you know your strengths? How do you use your strengths? Again, I like to use myself and put myself on the spot so that people feel easy and able to relate with it. So I would like to keep to time. I would like to do things as scheduled, the structure and all of that. Let me tell you a funny story that happened about 2 weeks ago. My husband and I were supposed to go to church together. And we had agreed that we will come back home so that we don't go to church in two different vehicles. On my way back home, I got into a very terrible traffic. I got stuck in that traffic, and literally I began to shed tears in traffic. I was hedged in on all sides. Eventually, when I could wriggle out of the traffic, I turned back to use another road and got into a traffic that was worse than where I was coming from. And at that juncture, my husband called, "Baby, where are you?" And I said, "I've been stuck in traffic, and I've made my way back this way, and it's worse than where I'm coming from." And very calmly, he said to me, "It's okay. Just get yourself home safely. Don't get disturbed. I am waiting." That what he said to me got me to a calm state where I could even remember that church streams online. So I plugged on in that traffic and I was listening to worship. The worship kept me calm until I could come through the traffic. And then as I drove home, I was having a conversation with myself. So is this what my husband gets into sometimes? And I'm calling and say, "I thought we had an agreement. I thought we had an agreement. I thought we had an agreement." Is a strength for me, right? But in that space, I am overusing that strength and making another person uncomfortable. And so by the time I got home, obviously we couldn't make it to church. My husband was already streaming online. I said, "Baby, I'm streaming online. Come, let's sit and watch." But he went to get something. When he came in, I just had tears streaming down my eyes. And I said, "I am sorry for all the times when I had used my strength negatively." And he was laughing. And I said, "I won't do it ever again." Because even if he left late, there was a situation that was beyond his control. Now, it was me on the flip side of that place and seeing that I couldn't turn my vehicle into a flying car. And so I was imagining what I have been putting my husband through when maybe he finds himself stuck in the traffic and I'll be calling literally every 15 minutes. But you know what? That one call he made to me was the only call he made. And at that point, I realized the grace I had enjoyed. And I realized how I had used something that is a strength for me and used it so much that it can be a turn off for your partner. So if you are the one whose super strength is honesty, do you use it in such a way that you are becoming like a holier than thou to the person that you're doing life with, that you want to get into a relationship with, and the person just gets turned off and says, "You know what? I can't continue to do this." Do you know what you believe? Imagine that you are here and a guy believes that a man is superior to a woman. And you're a woman here who believes that nobody is superior to the other. You either will sit down and get an alignment about that belief system, or you be ready for the war that will come from there. Because that belief system will drive the way things are done in that relationship. What are your relationship beliefs? What is your personality type? Do you know how your personality affects the way you show up in life? What is your love language? How do you want to be loved? How do you give and receive love? And do you know how that affects the way you show up in all situations? What is your personal purpose statement? I always will say, if you don't see the treasure that I carry, anybody who has me in their space has a treasure. And if you don't see the treasure that I carry, then life must be miserable for the poor. What is your own purpose statement? Who are you? I ask you again. Can you answer that question beyond your name, beyond what you do? What are your core values? What drives you? What are you passionate about? And then one of the things that will happen is that will help you design your unique attraction blueprint, where you can say, "This is what turns me off. This is what turns me on. This is how to suit me when I'm sad. This is what to do when I feel miserable. This is the language to speak to me when this is happening. This is who to call upon when you think you cannot reach me. These are the names that people call me. You know what? People encounter me and they call me Margaret Thatcher, Madame Due Process. And I have embraced it. Am I ashamed of it? No. Do I know that that's the name they call me? Yes. Am I able to share with my partner, even before now, that that's who people see me to be? In fact, it is because of that kind of name that he was attracted to me. Who is this girl that people say, fine girl, but man, you must be careful around her. That was must be careful around her was the attraction for him. Are you able to carry the totality of who you are, your weaknesses, your strengths, your talents, your scars and your scandals, and show up your true self so that you can attract the person who embraces you with everything that you are and everything that you embody and accepts you for who you are while you're on the journey to becoming a best version of you? Realize that we are all works in progress and none of us has attained perfection. However, we can grow from where we are to where we want to be. So this can be you. Somebody wrote this and she said, the program opened my eyes to new possibilities and broadened my understanding of self-worth and personal growth. Each session was a journey of self-discovery filled with moments that challenged my beliefs and inspired me to strive for a better version of myself. I learned that being truly ready for a relationship starts with nurturing and valuing oneself, setting healthy boundaries, and recognizing the red flags in potential partners. This person stood up for herself, and you know what happened? Somebody had kept her in what we call a situationship, not defining where the relationship was going to. And somewhere along the line, when they were talking, this person came and said, I don't like ladies from this area. Somehow, when he was talking, he forgot that the person he has been doing relationship with was from that same area. And the lady said, have you forgotten that I'm from that place? He said, no, 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 you are different. The lady saw it as an immediate red flag and immediately said to herself, this thing cannot go anywhere. I'm not going to be a punching bag or somebody who will be spoken down to, somebody who will be stripped of every sense of self-worth because of the mindset that the guy had about people from that area. And she was bold enough, confident enough to choose herself and take a walk from that relationship. This can be you. Another person said, do you know how your birth order affects the way you respond? I am a first child, married to a first child. So you can imagine that we've come from a place where we constantly are able to give instructions, take charge, and all. If we didn't have that understanding, and if I didn't understand what the marriage relationship meant and what submission meant, it will be a tug of war. Do you agree? If you agree, give me a thumbs up in the chat room. Do you agree? It would have been a tug of war because he'll be dishing orders and I'm dishing orders. But because I knew myself well enough and understood that the institution of marriage, there can't be two captains in a ship, that helped me to be able to take submission with ease. Again, remember when I referred to your superpowers, the ability to be able to take your relationship with your supreme being, whoever that supreme being is. And in spite of the fact that my husband is a first child, and knows that he's the captain of our boat, the captain of our ship. He also knows in his place of strength, he knows where he is proficient at and what he's not proficient at. And it doesn't make him any less as a man. And so, in those areas where I am graced, he gives me liberty to lead the family in that area. It doesn't make me automatically usurp authority. If you are here and you are going to marry a last child and you're a first child, you have capacity to understand the pampering that may happen. Imagine that the girl is the first and the man is the last. And he has had people who had doted on him. Now stretch your imagination further. That guy was the last and the only boy who had had sisters just dote on him. Young lady, do you know what kind of assignment you'll be walking into? Are you prepared for it? So these are the things that become your place. This first child said he didn't even understand. He felt that being the first was one that he will constantly give and give and give, and had never been able to sit with himself to ever articulate what his own needs were. And so, in joining the program, he was able to realize that he was somebody to be loved, somebody who could freely receive from others as well, and be able to look out for himself. Would that be you? Can this be you? Will you be the one who will be able to step out of that situation? Would you be able to understand that terrain? I have a last child who came after 8 years. And so sometimes you hear that last child say, you people are not treating me like a last born in this house. I don't know if I am the last born or the firstborn or the only child. Do you understand the scenario that that child would have grown up in? And so the person who is going to do life with him cannot treat him like the typical lastborn, because he's a lastborn who has had elder brothers who are not home. And so when the elder brothers are not home, he takes charge. And sometimes he feels like he's an only child and has found a way to keep himself and keep his company and do the things that he's passionate about. The lady who will want to walk the journey with him will need to understand that about that child. We need to understand that and understand the dynamics of that place. That sometimes he can be all gummy, 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 and the next minute he's asking you to give him space, and the next minute he wants to be in charge, and the next minute he wants to call the whole crowd, like a last one will do. Do you know that? Are you able to find those things and identify them about yourself? Somebody is saying everlasting assignment. Okay. What of the middle child who probably has been the peacemaker all life? If there's trouble here, he tries to wade in. If there's trouble here, he tries to wade in. Do you understand that that middle child will also come into the relationship and probably just settle, not want to push the boundaries, not want to make any demands, not want to make anybody uncomfortable? Would you be able to look out for that person? Or are you even that person? Would you also begin to find your voice to advocate for yourself? So, who is Nadem go they rush you for? It's for everyone who wants to discover themselves, who wants to understand their journey, who wants to be able to make a right choice. Because there will be topsy-turvy moments in relationships. But if you chose with your eyes wide open, with your lens not foggy, you will be able to go through the difficult moments because you understand why you made the choice. How does the program run? You have pre-recorded programs that will be sent to you. You join an exclusive WhatsApp community. You get enrolled online on the academy, and then a model is sent to you every week. And usually we will say, find 2 hours Whether it's 30 minutes every day over the space of 4 days, you'll be able to look at it, listen to it, and prepare for the live coaching class that typically happens every Saturday about this time by 7. If you go through the model, you come into the class with your life questions and you can have them answered. You can have your hand held, and then you will enjoy the time of discovering who you are. And at the end, you will get a digital handbook on completion of the program that helps you constantly reflect and take the learnings from the 7 weeks period. And I'm telling you, you will advocate for yourself in such a way that you become the most desirable person anybody will want to walk into a relationship with. So, how much does this cost? If you're ready to take this within the next 72 hours and make a down payment of 64,000, you will be getting a 20% discount, paying 64,000 instead of 80,000. And so you may want to scan this or speak directly to Ifunanya. So I'm going to leave this here. And Ifunanya, you may drop this in the link so that anybody can take that. You can scan the QR code as you're listening to me. If you want to make a one-time payment, it is 64,000 if you make the commitment within the next 72 hours. If you want to stagger your payment, you can also enroll and do that by making 2 installmental payments of 37,500 within the next, at least make the down payment of 37,500. So you pay 75,000 total instead of 80,000 for Flex, which is the webinar deal. To pay the first installment of 37,500 to join the next batch, please send the message to Ifunanya. See the email there or scan the QR code. That ensures that you get onto the list and you take on this webinar discount. Remember that the full cost is 80,000. The webinar discount from today for the next 72 hours is 64,000 for a one-time payment. If you want to stagger the payment in 2 installments, it's 37,500 and you lock down your slot. And then I want to say to you that your dreams are possible. To find the right person for you, you have to be the right person for you. A whole, healed, and authentic you can choose from a place of abundance. And so until you own your own story, your story will own your choices. How many times have we not owned our story and our journey, and we have allowed it to define the choices that we make? This quote is peculiar to me. It's me telling you that self-awareness, I said the relationship is a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey. Self-awareness is the passport. Confidence is the visa. Expression is the journey. And love is the destination you want to get to. What choice are you going to make today? Are you going to make that choice of choosing you and owning your journey so that you can tell your story yourself unashamedly? Don't wait for another heartbreak. Don't wait to learn from another experience. Choose you, become whole, so that your engagements can come from a place of authenticity, where you are not ashamed to say, this is who Oluchi is. Love me or like me, that's who I am. And so with that, we come to the end of this webinar. And I hope that my engagement with you tonight has been such that has helped you to think about yourself, think about your life, think about where you are going, and think about what you want to do. Because it is critical to who you become. It is critical to achieving your life's purpose. Be sure you don't get into a relationship that takes away from the essence of who you are and drowns you. Be sure that you are the kind of person that will choose you, boldly and proudly, with every sense of humility. I say to anyone who comes in contact with me, once you have me on your team, you have a treasure. And I can tell you that everyone who has encountered me has enjoyed the treasure that I carry. Would you want to be that treasure? Would you want to be that person that shows up in that space and you are sure that you can choose you and choose you unflinching? The chat room is open. Ask your questions and I'm here to answer them. Thank you for giving time to yourself, for taking yourself seriously. And remember, you are the only one that can write the story of your life because you are the star in the movie of your life. Be sure that the movie you are scripting is one you will be glad to showcase to the world unashamedly and happy that you chose you. Any questions? Any light bulb moments? Tell me what your experience has been tonight. I'm waiting. Nobody is responding to me. How can one heal from a past hurt? There is a process. We will get to the root. We're going to trace your roots and ask you to do the journaling yourself. You will find where the axe head fell and what happened as you engage on this journey. Somebody says, we all love this session. The experience has been amazing. Thank you. I really appreciate this webinar. Learned a lot and looking forward to apply some of the things said. Great. Thank you, Owo Solomon. Thank you, Randa. Thank you, iPhone. Thank you, Patience. You know, I wish I could share with you. But like I said, when I began to trace myself, I traced myself from my roots. Who is my father? Who is my mother? Who are my sisters? What were the times I was happy as a little girl and through life? What were the things that made me sad? What were the things that I excelled at? What was it that people came to me for? What were the things that frightened me? What were the things that kept me stuck in my tracks? And I can tell you that as I began to sit with that, I found that one thing I had on my table was that I had a perfectionist tendency and I was overtly sensitive. Words get to me very easily. And I want to do something. I'm thinking about it. I'm waiting for it to be perfect. I'm waiting for it to be perfect. And somebody else has hit the ground running, and I'm still where I am. These are the things that happen, patients. These are the parts we walk you through as you identify those things and answer the questions we put out to you. We will trace the roots and we'll be able to walk you through a healing journey that helps you to embrace another relationship from a healed place so you don't bleed on the person who didn't cut you. Cheta Chuku says, I learned a lot too, especially that of position in children. Very lovely one. You teach very well and your ideas are wonderful. Thank you. The root. Patience. So I think you got the light bulb moment there. The root. Where did the axe head fall? Only then can healing take place. Is the Nadem they rush you class going to address past relationship hurt? Yes, Randa. Yes. 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 God bless you too, Patience. God bless you. And so if I don't have any more questions tonight, Are you sure that you don't have any questions for me? And then I can give you your Saturday night back and you can get back. Can you pay for someone else? Yes, you can. Just say it's the webinar deal and you're good to go. You can see Funanya's number there. Please grab that number. Grab that number and you can chat with Ifunanya. You can pay for someone else. In Phoenix Hot, I'm so blessed. I've learned a lot to apply. Thanks so much, great teacher. Oh, what a delight. Thank you. Hello, Mrs. Oluchi. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you too, Chimi. Lovely to meet you. Okay, night people. And I'm trusting that you all choose yourselves. And you know what? You'll be glad you did. It won't be a waste of your time at all. I said that's my mommy. I was careful. I didn't know if you think I'm putting you on the spot. And that's my first son. That's the one that has discovered himself and will not be anything to anybody. That's the one who can say, this is where I'm going, and this is what I don't want to do. And I'm proud of the young man that he's becoming. Can we get this recording? Oh, yes. If you registered, you will get the recording in your emails. Yes, you would. Any more questions before we say good night? You will get the link in your email once you registered. You would. Any other question we need to address? Or do we say good night to everyone? I lost connection towards the end. Nomso, you are here too. That's my second son, the quiet one who is the peacemaker all the way. Okay, so young people, I'm asking you to choose yourself. Yes, quiet, Jimmy. He's quieter than you are. You can be in this house and nobody will know he's around. All right, beautiful people, please choose you and be sure that if you had to choose, you'll be able to choose yourself. God bless you all as you develop yourselves into the best versions of who you are. Have a lovely night rest. Good night. Thank you, Ziomi. Thank you. Thank you, Patience. Good night. Thank you, everyone. I hope you're all signing up because you will enjoy the ride. I can tell you, you will. Good night. Good night, people. Good night.